I'm going to repeat this on a Monday. I might. Depends. Depends on how I'm feeling. Hope you're feeling well. I'm Emil Guillermo, Emil Amok to you. This is my takeout, my takes on all things considerable. We were talking on Friday, had Daniel Phil Gonzalez, my friend, my cohort. Well, at least once a week we talk about the news, we banter. And something was wrong with his, with our communication. It was good, and then it was not good, and then it was good, and then it was frustrating, and then we blamed it on the fire. We blamed it on the fire, even though we're nowhere near the fire zone. We're just two NorCal guys, and today we'll talk about those SoCal fires. We might as well just call them the SoCal fires, not just the LA fires, because as long as there's wind, everything in Southern California is threatened. I mean, it was nice. It's nice to think that they could be contained to LA County or LA City, but as long as there's embers, as long as there's wind, it really is all of Southern California. And if you want to talk about the population, well, the population is centered around LA. Okay, come on, Emil, it's not San Diego. Well, who knows? All it takes is a spark. And San Diego isn't too far. I mean, you go down from LA down to Orange County, and then you're in San Diego. That's about an hour and a half, 2 hours. But the fact is, it's a SoCal fires. And it's not supposed to be this way in January. We're supposed to have rain in January, like we did last year when I was stuck driving down to LA and stuck in with the flooding. There was floods, there was mudslides. So I'm going to talk to Dan. We sort of had a truncated call on Friday. We're going to talk to him today. We're going to talk about the Trump discharge and what that means. This is, like I said, my takeout, my takes on all things considerable, and this is what you do when you can't afford to buy a radio station. Who needs a radio station? Just like, here it is. Here's what we think. So the status of the fire today is that they were hoping that the fire folks fighting it, LA County, LA City, they were hoping, and they were aided by Mexicans. Mexicans were brought in. They actually imported Mexicans, which is a good thing. But I'm just waiting for the right to say, hey, send them home. They're taking our jobs. But they were hoping that they could all contain the fire or make some headway. It's still less than, 11, 13% contained right now. It's not, in other words, there's still a long way to go. But they were hoping that when a lull hit in the winds, right? The lull is in the winds because the winds whip up the flames send out the embers, that spreads the threat, that spreads the fire. They're hoping when the Santa Ana winds, when they had a little rest, that they can make some headway. They haven't. And we're going to have more wind events, meaning winds of maybe not, 80 to 100 miles per hour like we saw last week. But maybe even at the 40 mile per hour range, it's dangerous. I'm up here in Northern California, and I felt the winds yesterday, which were treacherous. Fortunately, we had no embers. We had no fire. But that's what we're dealing with. And, of course, you had Donald Trump last week immediately pointing fingers. Oh, why are these hydrants dry? I'll tell you why the hydrants are dry. There's too much fire. It's not a function of, some mismanagement. It's that we are in an extraordinary circumstance. And instead of understanding and reckoning with this idea that this extraordinary circumstance is due to climate change, we want to deny climate change, which means we're never going to get to the answer to this. And in the meantime, we need leadership. And who's at the leadership at the federal level? Well, fortunately, we still have Joe Biden for another few days. But the guy who is, ready to take over is the newly minted convicted felon who's like the premier climate denier in America. He took us off the Paris Accords. Biden put us back. He took us off all the global things that would help for cooperation in terms of climate. Biden put us back. Trump is going to take us off again once he gets on. You think that's just the only thing? Well, or you thought that, pardoning January 6 rioters was the only thing? It's going to be the whole thing. Everything on the Trump agenda, the undoing of America, and the fires are a reminder of the undoing of America that's coming. And we should all be concerned because the fires are our wake-up call. The fires are supposed to be our wake-up call to understand that, there's a reason why we can't describe what we're seeing when we go back to the homes and go back to the people who've been affected by the fires. We say it looks like a bomb hit. It looks like it's a war zone. It looks apocalyptic. If I had $1 for every time someone said it's a war zone, it's apocalyptic, it's, I think we'd have the $50 billion we need to rebuild LA, I think. And then, of course, there's the famous, there are no words. Well, yeah, there are no words because we've been in denial. We've been unable to describe what we're seeing. And now we know. Are we still going to deny it? In the meantime, we let Trump start these political fires, fanning them left and right, saying, it's Gavin Newsom's fault. Gavin Newsom was on NBC this morning, and he told NBC News, Jacob Soboroff, in an interview for Meet the Press, he said the LA wildfires could become the worst natural disaster in U.S. history. I think it will be in terms of just the costs associated with it, in terms of the scale and scope, Newsom said. And that would mean being worse than Hurricane Katrina, which devastated New Orleans and Mississippi, the coastline there, in 2005. And look what happened. It came back. Well, somewhat. I mean, we only see certain parts in New Orleans. If you haven't been there, you know that it's some places are back and some aren't. But we are talking about climate change, particularly this whiplash between, the two wet winters that we had last year and the year before, which, always surprised me. You say, it never rains in Southern California. It's raining now, right? But then we had these hot spring, summer, and fall temperatures this year. And that gave us what people are calling the perfect storm or the perfect non-storm, right? So we have hydroclimate whiplash. We have some of the worst Santa Ana winds, and the Santa Ana winds, that's a consequence of the pattern, right? The highs and the low pressure zone areas in Southern California, giving us the kind of I don't want to say they're historic winds, but they're, 100 mile per hour Santa Ana winds. That's heavy, right? So we got this whiplash, they're calling it a hydroclimate whiplash, one extreme precipitation regime replaced by another. We got extremely wet conditions followed by parched weather patterns, above average temperatures. We have vegetation drying. We have, we have the vegetation, the dry vegetation providing the fuel for this situation. And they don't exactly know, where did the initial spark come from? It just can't be the dryness of the vegetation. Well, the fuel was there. The winds were there. Where did the first ember come from? Not clear. They're investigating. Maybe subsequent embers came from, were man-made. But this is part of what we need to do to try to figure out what's going on. And in the meantime, you got California leaders not bickering, trying to work with the people, trying to work to get people back on their feet. And then you got Donald Trump on the federal level fanning the flames. And there's no worse way to fan the flames than by essentially, you know, being known as the premier climate denier in the United States. Donald Trump. You know, we have until 2040 to, that's our deadline. The 1.5 degrees centigrade increase in climate temperature. We already have had, you know, the hottest weather on record. Each year we set records, but the point of no return is 2040. We're nowhere near that. Anyway, so this is really a climate story. And if you're denying that, if you're not saying that, if you're not thinking that, start thinking that. This is why people have a hard time describing what's going on. This is why people, walk back to their homes and say there are no words until we finally recognize the situation we're in. It's an environmental catastrophe. We've got to do something about it. And that's going to determine whether or not we build back better, whether or not we rise from the ashes together or suffocate from the flame and smoke. All right, let's bring up my friend, Professor Emeritus Daniel Phil Gonzalez, College of Ethnic Studies, San Francisco State University, Asian American Studies, Professor of Ethnic Studies and Political Studies or Politics. Dan, welcome to the show. I'm always happy to have you on because, I'll go off on a tangent or I'll go off on a limb and say something and you say, well, Emil, I don't know. Anyway, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. It's Sunday morning yet.
Yeah. I'm sorry that we had technical difficulties the other day.
Yeah, we may again today. I for the first time I have seen my bars on my internet link really low. So
hey, you're in San Francisco, and then you're beholden.
That means nothing. It all comes down to how good the cable service is. And
that's it. That's it. The corporates are conspiring against us. Okay, so in our time we have what's going on. I mean, I'm glad that we had some time because it gave me some time to think about this linkage between the fires in LA and the fires that Donald Trump, the man-made political fires that Donald Trump is causing that really exacerbate one another.
Well, it's all about, look, for Trump, it's ego and vengeance. Okay. He hates California because California cannot be moved against in his favor. They cannot be moved against its legislative majority, which is strongly Democratic.
Super majority.
So yeah. And Republicans might have a chance at recouping a few seats, but those seats are, guess where? in the middle of California and in the south of California, much of which is now ablaze. The difference is that LA County is a solidly Democratic county. And so behind a lot of this stuff is actually Donald Trump and the Republican conservatives, right? Those people who call themselves conservatives but are not, right? And their attitude towards the West Coast, particularly California. Look at how they played on Pelosi.
Oh,
for 10 years, for 10 years, 12 years, they played on Pelosi. She was just an evil witch. Okay. And did everything wrong. And veterans, to my dismay, many of the veterans that I was in contact with, and especially the white veterans, okay, were really antagonistic towards Hillary Clinton, Nancy Pelosi, and they weren't as bad against DIFI. But Nancy Pelosi had actually better policies in favor of veterans assistance, particularly the VA, Veterans Administration, and medical care, than almost any other congressperson. And she pushed those issues successfully, especially when the Democrats were in control of the House. So this antagonism, you can't explain it in any other ways than saying it's about revenge and it's about ego. Look at this guy. What's his name? Congressman from Ohio, who said that what's his name here? Davidson, Warren Davidson of Ohio, said that all funds for dealing with disaster relief should be withheld until the state reforms its forestry management. This is almost as stupid as when Trump said you got to sweep the forest floor, right? You got to do a better
Right.
job of raking. The guy actually said that.
Yes,
Okay.
I regard that. And this was in response to the campfire, which is
Yes.
the worst
Yes.
disaster, the
Yes.
worst disaster fire.
Before LA, yes. Before Los Angeles, that was definitely the worst disaster. And there were two of them in close proximity, right? You know, the campfire, the Paradise Fire. So, they blame us, and they blamed the state management of forestry, and that was federal land.
Yeah.
It was federal forestry land. So if you're going to play that game, the president was the guy who was responsible for that stuff, and he's saying you got to rake it, man. You got to.
Yeah.
That's the way you're going to stop that. The other thing is, PG&E came forward and said, "Oh, well, it was because our equipment failed that one
Yeah.
of the fires got started, and it got out of control. So we have to do more." And I said, "Well, there's going to be two things that happen. They're either going to reckon with the reality they have to underground cables, okay?
Mhm.
And even if they do that, they're going to
And
raise our
they
rates
have.
because, okay, remember the theory of
Yeah.
yes, remember the theory of disaster
Yeah.
capitalism, right? That capitalist vultures, right, jump on a disaster to take advantage of the reduced values of the area that's been ravaged. So if it's been ravaged by earthquake, flood, or fire, they wait until the dust clears
Yeah.
and then jump in, right? And take advantage of the low costs, low values of everything around that area, and they
They
jump
make
in.
the
And
profit.
it's capitalism.
Well,
That is
and this
capitalism.
is probably
But
what.
some did it. It might have been Galloway.
Well, this is probably going to be the way capitalism uh, ultimately deals with climate change.
Yeah,
If you can make more money taking the crap out of the air and the environment that you put in, if you can make more money taking it out, then
yeah.
hey, they're all for addressing climate change and getting the pollutants out, getting the carbon out. But you could have not had that business, the taking the crap out business, if you just didn't put the carbons in the first place. If you had a smarter system to do to sell to the American public, but now everything's got to you got to be able to make money. So you put the carbon in the environment, and you don't solve that problem not by removing by
We're
changing your
breaking up
pattern
again.
here. Oh, you do it by making money on the removal of the crap. So, that's probably what, and they're doing that
I agree
now.
with you. I agree that having incentives, yeah, a money incentive, a capitalist incentive is what's needed in part. Okay, but
Yeah.
the fact of the matter is they have spent literally centuries, right, developing their ownership of either land or the legal capacity to be able to develop the land or extract from the land. And so when they own all of those things, in any serious portion, they want to exhaust their use and their sale to the public. And so it all goes hand in hand, right? When they realize that they can make a whole lot of money, from the oil industry by selling more cars, they built more freeways because you
Yeah.
build more freeways, more people are able to use the cars. Remember when they were changing car styles every year?
Oh
You could
yeah.
identify who had the newest car because the car style changed literally every year. Okay, and that was the expansion of the market. Um, there were all kinds of car brands until, of course, some of those brands were mismanaged, right? And then
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that's what
Edsel.
that's what
The
they
Edsel.
do. So right now, yeah. So now they're worried about the inroads made by electric cars. Musk has been very successful in having, and it's essentially a monopoly on the manufacture and sale of electric cars with the Tesla brand. Okay, and the only competition is really from American brands. They're not very good. They're not very reliable. Remember, was Lightning was pushed really hard, and it's got all kind of recalls. So
and also except for the Rammer in New Orleans, he used an F-150 electric.
Okay.
Lightning.
You know what else is doing pretty well and being really reliable?
The Mustang.
Is the Mustang. Yeah, pretty reliable.
I have seen the electric Mustang at charging stations. I don't have an electric car; I have a hybrid, but I've noticed that. And it's a good-looking car, good-looking Mustang. Ford is making some inroads in the electric car, but it's funny. Tesla, you're right, and Musk is Trump's butt boy, and billionaire, ultra billionaire butt boy, and not only does he have the it's not just about the cars, it's about the batteries, and he's got the monopoly there.
Yeah,
it seems.
That's right.
And so this is capitalism at work. In the meantime, little guys get screwed, and one of the things coming out of the fire is I'm hoping that people realize fire, climate change discussion related, the LA fires, the fires that Trump creates are related. And what we got to watch for now is how the little guy gets screwed because, as we build back better. I mean, a lot of the rich people, Palisades is a fairly, well-to-do area. Altadena, middle to upper middle class,
That's another issue. That's also another issue.
Yeah.
The people haven't talked about race and ethnicity enough. Altadena, has lost a lot of its African American population. It's sort of like San Francisco. It gets gentrified, and the costs go up, and then the people who actually contributed to the development of the area get pushed out because they can't afford to maintain the household. A lot of the ownership in Altadena and even Pasadena, but especially Altadena, is beneficiary. Wills and the passage of estates from one generation to another.
One guy,
and they're getting
one guy
out.
who died there. Rodney Nickerson, I believe is his name. 83 years old. When the first identified, because his family came forward and said, he's been there. He bought his property for $5. Because Altadena, back when you were able to get it, way back when, was like no one was living out there.
Semi-rural.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was semi-rural.
And now it's the foothill, the desirable foothills. It is getting gentrified, but it is far more diverse than Pacific Palisades, the Palisades, and Brentwood and Encino. Now that the fire spread into the valley, Altadena was.
It's even.
You see the Latinos.
Even Bel Air is threatened.
Yeah, Bel Air. And so you really have to. At some point, people are going to look at the inequality, and here's the reality. The reality is smoke and fire do not discriminate. They get whipped up. The winds do not discriminate. They just fall. But who is better able to deal with this afterwards, and who gets the assistance or not the assistance? That's I think the key. Can we rise from the ashes together?
It's going to be really interesting. The Republicans have always been struggling to lessen the level of commitment of budget, federal budget to FEMA.
Yeah.
And every time FEMA comes out to do stuff, they criticize the hell out of it. Remember what was happening on the East Coast recently with the floods? Completely unexpected effects in the more elevated areas, right? North Carolina, for example. And they were completely destroyed, and then the population was taken aback by that, And then what did the Republicans do? They started saying that the Biden administration was slow in its response. They put out a lot of not misinformation, disinformation. Okay, saying that FEMA was going around making low offers to try and cop people's property, which is exactly what they do privately through the banks and through investment firms. That's exactly what they do. And they were blaming that on FEMA, completely, grossly, right? They're saying that $750 that they're offering you, don't sign that. Don't take the money. Don't take the money, because that's how they make an incremental, approach to taking away your deed and taking away the ownership of your property. They actually said that.
Well,
Okay, so you're going to trust these people, right? This country deserves what it voted for. I can't wait to see. I mean, I'm so impatient, and I'm not impatient. I'm impatient for the fight, and I'm impatient for the look on the people's faces when they get what happens to them, right on the ground.
I don't know. I frankly can wait, for seeing that, because I know it's going to be terrible. I mean, that, like.
Well, it's going to affect us too. It's going to affect us too.
Oh no,
regardless of where I'm at, regardless of where we're at on the middle class scale, there's no question that we're part of the middle class. Okay. But the middle class over the past 40, 50 years has been constantly compressed. Right. And that has, and we have been compressed and depressed towards the working class. So we're all much closer together, right? While the concentration of wealth has gone to the top 0.2% in American society with the billionaire class. And what do people do? They vote for those
aspirational democracy.
Yeah, they voted for
aspirational democracy. We want it. We want that. We want their bank accounts.
I don't know. They think they can make it. I think people think.
Oh, Dan. Yeah,
they think they can make it. People think, well, remember the dot boom,
the dot-com boom. Yeah.
Remember how people went running for I had students dropping out of school, especially the ones in computer science and computer.
Yeah.
They got offered all these jobs right here in San Francisco, and I said, be careful. When you take those jobs, you're looking at stock options. If the danger is that if the company fails, okay, you're going to get taxed with a tax burden based on the highest value of those stock options. Regardless of what their value is, it could be zero, when the company goes bankrupt.
Yeah, Dan, you're talking to a guy who left with negative stock options. So, I understand. And I mean, people, when I was
the people need to be, educated about these things, but they don't pay attention. The reality is, that in the first decade of this new millennium, they were paying more attention to the Kardashians than they were paying attention to understanding the American economy.
Well, this is why these fires are a kind of wake up call. We can, and this is why I in my latest column,
I agree, it should be.
And this is why in my latest column I talk about how people just have no words to describe what they're feeling, because it's just sinking in that this is the climate change that everyone's been denying. This is a result of the catastrophic climate change. We've entered into this portal, and we don't know. It feels so bad. We don't know how to describe it. There are no words. I mean, how many times have you heard that when people, and I'm a reporter, I ask people about, these things, and they say, there are no words. There are no words. Yes, because we've gone down, we've been sold this bill of goods by Trump and others, and we followed it thinking that, that's going to get us out. Go ahead.
All of that is very real, Emil, and that's the same thing that I hear as well. I had lunch with one of my cousins, and his sister lives in Glendale, and so we're concerned because the rapidity of the spread is all it's undeniable, right? The rapidity that spread, and it's all conditioned by the wind, and we can, they can't control that, and it's a combination of issues, right? But the wind at times is so severe they can't get the planes up and the copters up to be able to drop retardants in water. And some of I read something on Friday night that some of the copters are picking up a mix of fresh and salt water. And
Oh
salt,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
because the ocean's right there. But
Well, the scoopers, right? They got the scoopers from Canada.
yeah,
It's actually kind of neat. They go into their, it's like, water everywhere. But now,
like
so you got
seaplanes.
these scoopers. But
Yeah,
what does
the ocean.
the salt water, does it?
But salt
Uh,
water, but see, salt water does damage to the pumps, and so I don't know. The
uh,
scoopers probably work better because they don't. It's not like suction. It's
yeah,
literally pressure
but-
from the gathering of the water.
yeah, yeah.
That's
But
pretty good,
the
But
desperation
man,
the desperation of people wanting to, grab a solution. Here's water. It's liquid. I mean, people are throwing
oh
almond
yeah,
milk at the fires. They're getting out their hoses, and some of the hose work, it saved some houses because it kept, some of the structures dry, but then,
yeah.
or it kept them wet so that they weren't fuel for the embers. But you saw how it spread. I mean, the winds kept whipping, and up here in Northern California, we don't get the Santa Anas, but we get gusts. We got wind gusts yesterday that I thought were, oh my God. I mean, it wasn't like 40, 50 miles, but it was high.
The Anna effect with the direction that the wind comes. Okay, but it doesn't.
Yeah,
It's not like what happens in Southern California.
yeah,
I was I was at one time. I was a speaker at Santa Barbara at UC Santa Barbara, and
mm,
it was during the Santa Ana wind period, and uh, one of our sons who was very with me because they'd never been to Santa Barbara, right?
Oop.
And so the Santa Ana effect was so bad that our had triple effect. I mean, I was
Oh
almost
yeah.
unable to speak. It was that bad,
Well, some people
because
would think
all of
that
the
would,
concentration,
yeah,
well, the concentration of allergens was so bad because the wind puts all of the allergens that you can imagine right up against the mountains, and it drops. It
yeah,
speeds up coming over the mountains, and then it drops right on Goleta and Santa Barbara, which is where we were.
yeah.
And I
But
thought, man, it's really incredibly bad.
yeah, but you just need to
So
experience this.
we
Some people say that the Santa Anas are like hurricane with fire instead of rain. Hurricane force winds with fire instead of rain, which is kind of
well, they are
slight
now. They are
hyperbole.
now.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, they are
slight
now. And
hyperbole,
you
but
raised a really important point. Deniers, okay? So there's
yeah,
climate change deniers. Unfortunately, they have actually blocked, right, the appropriate kind of response to climate change. They literally blocked it, okay?
mhm,
Which is they block renewables, and a lot of the states that have a majority of Republicans block renewables. One of the places that, as you say, uh, got a little bit better consciousness about the reality of climate change is actually Texas, because they started investing more in renewable energy. Okay, but they're still not tied in to the national grid in any way,
yeah,
right? So they're still susceptible to failures because they're so pro oil.
yeah,
They're so pro petroleum
yeah.
products,
When
right?
you have it,
It's really kind of
yeah.
comical, but
When you
but it's also very dangerous.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, the Trump political fires that he sets, and his best response is burn, baby, burn, and making a joke about windmills, like how ineffective they are.
Drill, baby,
He
drill.
is
Yeah,
Yeah, he is the absolute worst leader. I mean, people should see that he's the worst leader for our times right now. He might have been good in 1930 when people wanted to keep immigrants out, when people wanted to kick Filipinos out. He might have been good in the 1920s when 1924 the worst immigration law was passed that set quotas and set
Well, it was
quotas.
zero for Asians.
Zero quota for Asians, yeah, but like a 1-2% quota for Europeans. Donald Trump was perfect for the 1930s and that 1924 Immigration Act, but in 2024 or 2025, we got to see something different. If we're going to make that deadline of 2040, that's when climate scientists say, hey, 1.5 degrees centigrade, that's the temperature rising. When it gets that high, forget it. We're going to see mass, examples of the effects of our climate denial. We're going to see climate refugees. I mean, what do you call someone who is forced to move from Pacific Palisades down to, Bakersfield, or for a while? And I don't know if they'd ever go to Bakersfield, but maybe they'd go to down south, to Hemet or San Diego, at a 5-star, maybe not a 5-star hotel, maybe a 4-star hotel, down there. I mean, they're climate refugees, right? They're the modern climate refugees, and that's what we got. Oh, Dan, I don't see you.
Yeah. No, I'm back. We all want to be mindful of the fact that there are all these big corporations, and obviously Musk taking stuff out of California and moving them to Texas and Florida. Florida really isn't long for this world. I mean, Florida is not long for this world. Even when there's not a big storm, whenever they have king tides, Miami, gets put, the seashore gets pushed back on the strip. Okay, it's really ridiculous, right? It's all going to turn into one big Okefenokee swamp, right? in just a few decades. It's not. You can't turn this back. Florida is like a peninsula. It's a peninsula. It's not like Amsterdam, right, where they can build retainers and try and control, how much flooding occurs. The Europeans, at least with regard to resigning themselves to climate, they've accepted. Like they're much more mature about sex, for example, than the typical Americans, right? They're much more mature about climate change, the reality of climate change. Their problems, their political problems, are much more related to race and ethnicity. So the intersection of class and race, right now, than it is about any denial of climate change.
Yeah.
In the U.S., we got a trifecta going, right? We got increasing racism.
Hey, say that again. You broke up, man. That's it. Hey, say that again, because
attitudes. We got increasing racism.
Say that again, because you broke up.
Okay, we got increasing racism, right? And in the form of anti-immigration. We have among youth culture increasing or reoccurrence of anti-miscegenation, right? Among young men. You can't just blame it on Latinos, right? There are a lot of young men of all ethnicities, right? And even educated young men that are obviously expressing, misogynistic attitudes, okay? And then you also...
Oh, you made...
political administrations rather than look at Amok. You got...
Dan, repeat the last one. You broke up there. Dan, you said the third thing.
Amok, That's the way capitalism, the direction that capitalism has taken over the past 60 years. It's been...
Right. And look, what we're witnessing here
moving in this direction.
Yeah.
And what long people kept on talking about what did they do? Administration, remember the attempts to try and break up IT&T? Remember that?
AT&T,
and what did they say?
Yeah.
They said, no, AT&T. And well, there was an AT&T thing too, but
there was an
they were a
AT&T
splinter
Yeah.
AT&T. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the question was, okay, should we be against these mergers or should we breaking them up? Should we be breaking them up? And the
Mm.
corporations that were merging actually said it will make things cheaper for the public. They actually said that. It'll
Yeah.
be well, the distribution of services is going to be cheaper because we'll be able to eliminate a lot of the overlapping inefficiencies and costs of administration. That was their argument, right? Did
Yeah.
anybody see a
Well,
rollback in
well,
our
look.
utilities bills? Did anybody
Yeah.
in our services and our telecommunication services?
Oh boy. Well, what we're seeing now with our 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 communication being somewhat interrupted, but there's an inequity in the kind of service. If you get it on cable, if you get it through the satellite, this is modern communications. Uh, if
Yeah,
you
no
have the
kidding.
wherewithal, and if you have and you can break the monopoly of the server, the service that you've been assigned, who bought the franchise to your area, maybe you'll get good service. I mean, for the longest time, we're out where I am, we had the what used to be the old GTE, which was just absolutely terrible,
Yeah, yeah,
and now they've opened it up a little bit where it
yeah.
got a little better. But no, I mean, this is another way to capitalize on inequality, or to calcify inequality. By through the
Yeah.
through the way the corporates deal with their customers, or take advantage of their customers. So this is the future. I
Do
mean,
you, you know, do you,
go ahead.
well, do you think it's possible? Do you think it's possible that we're headed for a combination of economic downturns, including a market crash, that could, that level of destruction could
Yeah.
affect the big monopolizers, right?
Yeah.
And then it's going to force Congress to actually do its job, to actually
I mean,
regulate commerce. That's one of the
yeah.
that's the powers enumerated specifically in Article 1, right?
Well,
Under
if we
Section
could,
8,
if
regulate
we
commerce.
if we could ever get beyond the partisan politics, where people are have this blind allegiance to the climate denier. I mean, this last night I was reading something. This is President-elect Trump on tariffs, right? Which we know is going to be an inflation booster, not an inflation fighter. But he's still saying the most beautiful words in the English language: tariffs, and they'll raise a lot of revenue. And this is the belief of Trump, which you know Nobel's economic prize winners have said this guy is crazy. Tariffs are going to you know do damage to the economy, and here's Trump saying the most beautiful words in the English language: tariffs. So I don't know. I mean,
Yeah,
and the
yeah,
plurality of Americans love this man. They. So let's skip over to this. The last
yeah,
week we had the Trump fires, or we had the fires, the LA fires, and we had the Trump fires. And the first one, well, I mean, the biggest one was the Judge Marchon in New York, the criminal sentencing of Trump. And Marchon did what he could. He could have been stronger, but in the end, the unconditional discharge was the best. But it still leaves us with a convicted felon who will be president of the United States, and that can't be good. That can't be good.
yeah. It is not the equivalent of real accountability. So it is a signal to all of the truly corrupt politicians, on regardless of party, regardless of ideology, regardless of religious beliefs or any of the rest of that stuff. This behavior. The only thing that matters, the acquisition and maintenance of power. That's it. That's the only thing that matters. There's nothing about morality, ethics, and all the rest of that stuff. Um, that is assumed in the original Constitution. That's the thing that nobody talks about. For the values in the original Constitution to actually be observed, people have to want to maintain those values. They have to be very discriminatory in deciding, yeah, I'm committed to honesty. I'm committed to transparency. I'm committed to using this authority and this power in the best interest of the public as a whole. We have to try and understand that there's a diversity of needs, right? Among the general public, we have to recognize those real needs, not render fantasies, right, to a vulnerable element of the public that takes them down tunnels of not only misinformation but disinformation, that they vote and act against their own interests. And so, one last thing on the fires. You talked about denial being a major factor. How about the people who continue to live despite the fact that they know climate change is real? That's another problem, is it not?
So you're saying, why would anyone build in a fire zone if they knew that you're doomed, right? And they might say, well, we get a good 20 years out of it. I mean, that doesn't make sense. But I mean, that's what
tell that to the people. Tell that to the people who just built their house like last year.
Oh yeah,
I've seen interviews of people who just bought and built their house, and it's gone. Okay.
Yeah.
I want to see what they say. Why not more interviews of people who didn't have insurance because their insurance was was so high, their premiums were so high they couldn't afford it.
Yeah. I mean, look, the state has an insurance of last resort for those who don't. Certainly there are reinsurers out there. I mean, Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett is a reinsurer. He's certainly there to back up states with, I mean, you're not supposed to really say this because people, want they want people to believe.
Yeah, but you want to look at what the
they want people to believe it's an open market.
You have to look at the terms of the insurance, though. I mean, there's
act of God. I mean,
right.
I think it might.
No, it.
Go ahead.
I don't know. I not see insurance company of any sort, right, including Berkshire Hathaway, giving the kind of coverage that's necessary, right? I think that they'll be short on how much they, what kinds get
what kind of coverage.
Full coverage,
Yeah, I can see that, but
so
maybe you can have the reinsurers buttress up the regular insurers. I know that they're going to have to come up with a formula, but it's going to be
but the regular insurers are already abandoning the state.
Well, you know what happens when you abandon the state, or when you're forced to consider abandoning the state because the risk is too high. What happens is you accommodate the risk by raising the rates, by raising the price, and it could be that the rates become so cost prohibitive that maybe no one will live or build there, and maybe that's what's needed. Maybe you need better land use policy so that people say, hey, we can't build here, or maybe they manage the flames, they manage the vegetation, because you can point fingers there and say, look, we need to do something about the vegetation and keeping that from being fuel for the Santa Ana winds. When there's a spark, when there's an ember, and then you got to make the arson laws. I don't know how you make it any heavier than you do, but you got to let people know that this is serious business. And is that going to keep people from rebuilding in Pacific Palisades? Probably not.
Has the continuous flooding that's been going on along the main rivers in the middle of the country? Has that stopped people from rebuilding, along the
Yeah.
floodplain?
Well, how about the key?
And there's been serious discussion in Congress about not funding people to rebuild in those
Well, how about
floodplains. And I don't know how far it's
yeah,
gotten.
just like Florida, and just like in the hurricane zones. I mean, we just continue to do the same thing, and rebuilding is seen as an act of heroism. Rebuilding is seen as, hey, this is the American way. We get knocked down, we get back up. But get back up in the same place, is that idiotic or is that bravery?
Yeah.
I mean that's the same thing. If you know
Yeah.
that there's going
Well,
to be a
it
fire,
ain't bravery.
yeah. Well, I mean,
Smart.
no, it's called American ingenuity. We're going to do the same thing over and over again, I guess,
Yeah. Yeah,
until we
but they,
run
they
out of
don't even,
money.
in tornado zones, when they rebuild, they look at the
Yeah.
tornado zones. The tornadoes are getting more severe, right? And they're reaching all the way up to
Yeah.
New York, you know, and the Great Lakes. They're sweeping from
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I get,
quicker. They're more serious, and
yeah.
but the people keep rebuilding. I can understand that there's a chance that the tornado won't hit the same place twice, right?
But it does. I mean, they will.
Exactly the same
Yeah.
way.
Well, this is
They
part of the
design the homes
change.
in the same
Yeah.
way.
Well, because you know why? There's a vacancy. There's available land. There's people who didn't, who got chased out by the environment, and now new people come up and say, well, location, 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 for 9/10 of it or 8/10, and they get a bargain. They get a fire sale. I mean, if there's a fire sale on
Yeah,
Brentwood,
yeah,
people say, well, at least
yeah.
I'm living in Brentwood for 10 years. You know, I don't know. It's idiotic, but uh, it becomes buyer beware, right? You're risking it, and heaven
Oh
help.
yeah.
And the conservatives would say, well, it's up to you. We don't even believe in fire departments. We don't believe in public utilities. We believe in privatization. You get your own
Oh,
damn thing, right?
oh,
Right? I
yeah.
mean, real
Well, they don't
conservatives
believe in
believe that.
schools. Yeah,
They don't believe in schools. No,
they
they'll
don't believe in
homeschool.
schools either. They don't believe in schools
Yeah,
because they're teaching people how to be transgender.
yeah, yeah. Right. And
It's
that's these are examples of
it's
the
people.
fires set by Trump that we're going to have to reckon with come January 20th when he becomes president. And we're going to look at the fires and look at Trump's fires and say, oh my God, how do we fix this divide that exists in America? How do we bring us together so that out of these LA fires and the Trump fires, we can emerge, together, out of the fire, out of
Do you
the
think?
ashes.
Okay, okay. If you're going to do that metaphor and you're going to look at Trump as doing these metaphorical fires, right?
Yeah.
Let me ask this. Yeah, could the could the could the Muslim vote in Wisconsin and in Michigan, could the way they voted, if they voted for Harrison Walz, okay, could they have won? Could Harrison Walz have won those states? Were there
I
enough
think
people?
I don't know.
Was it a
I would
voting body?
hope.
Was it an effective voting body?
I know that was a factor in choosing Walls. I know that I would have hoped that I didn't see the results after if Harrison Walls won that, but I know it was a reason why they didn't choose Shapiro.
Yeah, yeah. He
Yeah.
would definitely be
So,
stronger,
so
both in terms of quality of argument as well as sort of personality. I mean, I like Waltz. He's a nice
yeah.
guy and all the rest of that stuff. But Shapiro was a much
No.
sharper, politician. But he was the wrong
And it's
ethnicity, man.
unfortunate that I think they made a choice, and I think it ultimately backfired. They would have won Pennsylvania, that's for sure. Don't you think?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think you're
Or tell me,
right.
you broke up here,
I think
so
you're
you
right.
think I'm right? Yeah. So Dan,
So
we
anyway,
talked
my point
about.
is
Yeah.
state,
Go ahead.
so they get swing. Now, if you're asking, should the people now be awakened by the seriousness of these fires? Well, the blame game is actually interfering with that process, with people
Of course,
understanding the
that's
reality of what's going on.
that's the
So
problem.
yeah,
Trump's
so
got to
that
shut up.
actually happened with the votes,
Yeah.
2022.
Yeah. So I heard someone say, this is not the time for politics. We've got to help each other. We got to show the love for each other. And then later we can go for the politics. But right now, this is only the time for a kind of, you know, the kind of humanitarian love that we have a hard time with in America. But I'll set the example, Dan. We're both NorCal guys. I'm going to give my water to Southern California for as long as they need it. That's how big I'm going to be.
Yeah, I'm sending money of San
Now
Francisco
I'm not
business
talking about
benefit
money. They can use
activities.
my water. I'm saying they can use my water. I'm not even gonna rent my water. I'm gonna let them use my water. I'm gonna take fewer showers. I'm gonna conserve. I'm gonna go green. They can use my water to put out fires. San Franciscans are we're predisposed.
Times
Yeah.
donors.
Oh, Dan,
We
you're
are
breaking up. See, we're
we like to donate to
oh, you're breaking up, my.
real causes. To set up organizations or agencies. You got to watch out for the fake agencies online,
Oh yeah,
especially social media.
yeah,
That act as though they're going to benefit victims of the fires.
yeah. You gotta watch out for that. I'm metaphorically using they can use my water. Take my water, please. I'm just saying like, we're not even.
Yeah.
I don't even want to play water politics. I feel for the Angelinos, and this is I blame Herb Cain and the San Francisco Chronicle way back when I was a young boy, putting in this idea that as a San Franciscan, I was somehow superior to Los Angeles. That and that I did not like Los Angeles. And when the only thing I didn't like was the LA Dodgers. Okay, I don't like the Dodgers, but LA, I love LA. I love LA. And so there, I said it. I'm I'm being big about it. I'm being big about it. All right, Dan. All right, so we talked about the fires. We talked about Trump. We talked about our metaphors. And the other thing last
My
week that
my
I like, the other thing last week I
yeah,
like.
yeah.
Oh, see, we were breaking up. We can't talk because our system is, your I don't know, your internet, mine. We're not. Oh, he's gone. Oh, there he's coming back. Oh, he's back. Oh, now you
I
got a
am
better.
back. I
Now you
am
got a
back.
better. You got a better signal now. You got
Yeah, it's going in and out, but sometimes the problem is on your end. So somehow, the problem is a combination of both sides of
yeah.
this thing. Anyway,
All right.
where are we now? On
Well,
we've
well,
left the
we were
fires
on.
for a moment.
Oh, we talked about. I was. We talked about Trump in the discharge, which sounds worse than it is, but no, he gets no punishment.
Oh yeah,
Trump's discharge, and then
yeah.
and I was going to talk about last week. I thought the hopeful sign last week was when Trump was seen with Obama and the other, the five living presidents at ex-president Jimmy Carter's funeral. And I thought that's the kind of Trump I like. I like a quiet Trump sitting in a pew, not
Okay.
saying a damn thing, reverential and respectful of, he's in a church. I want a respectful Trump, not a flame throwing, climate denying Trump. I thought that would give us some hope if we got a reasonable Trump who was that kind of guy. I mean, I'm not predisposed to hate him. I don't like his climate denialism, but to me, that was the ideal Trump. The ideal Trump was sitting in a pew saying nothing. That was, yeah.
No,
If
he
you're a
was
Trump,
talking to he was talking to the Muslim.
yeah, he was talking to Obama,
He
and
was talking, yeah, he was talking to the alien that didn't deserve to be president because he wasn't born in America.
well, that's
That's
what
what he
I
was
was
talking
wondering. Did Trump say to Obama, "May I see your birth certificate? May I see your?"
Yeah, Obama
Yeah,
says, "Yeah, I got it right here, tattooed on my left buttock."
yeah. So but I thought that was classic. I love the ceremony, and I think every American should watch the Jimmy Carter service because it may as well have been a eulogy for American society. If we do not try to preserve all that Jimmy Carter stood for, and we have this felon and we follow the felon to, tariffs and climate denialism, we are not going to see America as we know it exist any longer. Some say it's gone anyway. It's because it's gone present.
Yeah,
But
I think it all comes down to, in the past we've talked about what has to happen. It's more than that. We now need to have a very strong and obvious and very public opposition. We have
loyal opposition, right? As the phrase is.
we have to describe it that way so that we look less like revolutionaries or rebels. I don't. I'm not even going to say loyal. Loyal to what? Yeah, if you want to do that,
yeah.
and it's
loyal
evident
to San Guillermo.
The Constitution and the yeah, but see, has the Constitution, the interpretation of the Constitution over the past 40 years, has that been helpful to people of color?
Okay. Well, we did have the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act the last 50 years, so
that was 60 years ago.
Yeah, 65, 64. Okay, it depends on who's on the Supreme Court. When we get some less.
That was 60 years ago, and we.
Yeah, so if we have less corrupt people, we're good.
Got overturned.
Yeah, if we get the more corrupt
people. Well, yeah, but when.
Oh, you cut off again.
Yeah, but when you have when the Supreme Court and sided with the three very forthright so-called liberals, right? Then we get a result that's at least acceptable, right? That's an acceptable result. You know, do you understand?
It was 5-4.
Do you think the public understands? Yeah. Do you think?
Oh, you cut off. Do you think the public understands what that did? Oh, we have.
Yeah.
Why? What? Why?
They gave Ryan gave him the unconditional discharge.
Well, we did talk about it briefly in our other show, our truncated show, and we talked about how Marshawn's hands were tied. He could have thrown the book at Trump, but there's a law that protects Trump. It didn't necessarily extend. It wasn't clear if it extended to the president-elect, but it extends to president. So Marshawn Marshan essentially kind of went the safe way. Honor the office of the presidency, not the man, because the office
Yeah.
of the presidency is what's protected, not the man. Honor the jury, which convicted the man. Honor the institutions of democracy, and issue this discharge, the unconditional discharge, so that the case could be finalized and over, and then Trump can appeal and do whatever he wants. But he wanted at least to put a cap on where, what the jury did and what the prosecutor did. Trump was guilty, convicted of 34 criminal counts. He's a convicted felon. And then he wished Donald Trump Godspeed, which is, Marshawn was
Yeah.
I think, fair.
Tactically and
Being fair.
strategic. No, I think it was also political tactics. I think
Yeah.
it was the best way to avoid the possibility that they were going to move more rapidly towards the Supreme Court, and it would slow them down a little bit because they had less of a contestable position with the unconditional discharge.
Yeah. Well, I thought.
But Trump's response was
Oh yeah.
not at all accepting of the court's decision. So
Right.
and what I said last time, and what you call the truncated version, was that he's going to keep bringing this issue up because they're going to keep appealing. And I like that. I want him to keep bringing this issue up because all I can keep saying is 34 times,
Yeah.
grand
Yeah.
jury, 34 convictions,
Yeah. I mean,
So,
and most people say, well, the voters voted for this. The voters want this. The voters are
yeah,
fine
they
with
did.
it. I don't think
That
voters
that
are
doesn't
fine.
make them smart.
Yeah. But I also don't think the voters
Yeah,
really
and
are
they
fine with
deserve what
this.
they're going to get.
Yeah. But like I said, I don't really think the voters really are fine with this, because when given the choice of dealing with a convicted felon and someone who is ethical and moral and kind, who would you rather deal with? The good guys or the bad guys? I think, that's what it
Yeah,
boils down
yeah,
to,
but that's the
right?
problem. That's
Oh, we
yes, it
like the
does,
bad
but
guys.
that's the problem. These people, evidently, an American plurality cannot understand. They can't distinguish between good and bad. That's what it comes down to. Their measures,
Uh,
their criteria is varied, right? And
why?
diverse, regardless of their hatred for affirmative action programs and diversity programs, right? The reality
Yeah,
is they are politically diverse. Okay. The problem
yeah.
is that the criteria that each of those diverse elements, right, use to make judgments is sometimes beyond erratic. It's and illogical. It's downright insane. They
So,
got
so
they
Dan,
got real problems.
Dan,
Yeah,
how did we as a
I
country
like
lose
I
this
like this
moral
framing. It's
compass?
pretty nice. You know,
Yeah, how did we as a country lose our moral compass?
we
You
went
didn't hear?
for the immediacies of our quality of life. We wanted the immediacies of quality of life. Our generation, my generation, right, really liked the 70s and 80s because we were able to enjoy a high level, right, of leisure, right, coming out of the relatively good economic conditions. When it got the first time that it got bad was the inflation that
Inflation.
that I think was the greater recession. Right? People refer to the
Uh,
Great Recession as the one that started in 2008. It actually started in 2007, but because of the media, right, everybody starts counting in 2008. Um,
mhm.
but there was a Great Recession as well, and it was a purely inflationary recession that started in 1975. And one of the major reasons of the Vietnam War. Suddenly, industries, right, are producing less, fewer people are employed, and at the same time, you have returning veterans coming back and looking for so who was causing the inflationary recession? Foreign investment. Remember that? Everybody in the world
Oh yeah.
was buying American real estate. When the Jets brought 30 Rock, you know,
That's right.
and people were
And
saying,
then
"What are you
Pebble
going to do?"
Beach, remember? Yeah, they bought 30 Rock. They bought Pebble Beach. They bought, and then the Chinese bought things. They bought companies. They bought Smithfield Ham because the Asians love pork.
That's right.
If they're
That's right.
American pork.
Well, even Canadians. Remember, Canadians were buying U.S. property and stuff.
Americans
The
for
Europeans were
sale.
getting in the act, but the biggest buyers,
Yeah.
the Chinese and Japanese were investing like crazy. Remember, people in Vancouver, Canada, were upset because Chinese were moving in and buying up properties, tearing down the existing homes, and building up these monstrosities of mansions, right? Modern mansions that didn't fit into the classical architecture that existed in some of the most expensive areas of Vancouver. Truly
Yeah.
beautiful areas overlooking the
Oh
park,
yeah.
overlooking the harbor and the marina and all that. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
The place was
Vancouver.
beautiful. And then the
Vancouver's
Chinese would
Asian.
buy up a house and then bam, put up a 4-story, obelisk.
Yeah.
Crazy, man.
What?
They're really
Brutalism.
upset. They were really
It's
upset.
brutalism.
And it's a combination of class and race. That's what it was. It's undeniable.
It always is. It always is. But and this will be the challenge
But people don't want to recognize it.
With these fires. I mean, you might as well just call them the SoCal fires because it's not just LA anymore. It's SoCal. It's the entire region.
Yeah, you said that earlier, and I bought it.
Yeah, I know.
That's absolutely right.
I got the
But the
receipt.
potential, everything keeps moving. The SoCal includes San Diego County too, right? And
Right.
the burb, the thing that kind of protects San Diego is the fact that forested, but it's still subject to the same Santa Ana wind effect.
Okay? Yeah,
so
and
so
even
the
if
threat
it's
is still there.
And even if it's not forested, there's still dry grass. And I've got
it is.
relatives.
Yes.
I got relatives who
yes.
butt up right to the grass.
Secondly, all right.
Yeah. Go ahead. Dan. I don't hear you, man.
No, we got people. Yeah. Can you hear me? We got people there in LA too.
Yeah. I know I got people in San Diego County.
I'm going to
yeah.
Right. I can't remember if we still have people in San Diego County. A lot of the folks were my father's generation, and my cousins were older than me, so I don't know if they're still there. I don't know their kids that well. Anyway, so the other point I was going to make is the dryness. The dryness is moving north. The dryness is moving north, right? So what that means is the agricultural areas in the Central Valley are also at risk.
Yeah, I know. Right? I know. Yeah.
The agricultural areas in the Central Valley are also at risk.
Get rid of the cows.
Okay, and so I'm concerned for you.
I know. I know. Dump the cows. Keep the almonds. The almonds use up water, but we need the almonds.
Forget the cows. Less dairy. Less dairy.
Yeah,
go vegan.
Less dairy. I think we should end on that point because we started with climate change and climate recognition. Maybe we'll get that recognition now. But if there's one thing that people can do to help the climate, if there's one, very easy, you could do it right now, right this instant. Say, I'm going to have at least one vegan meal a day. If you're a vegan, you help your body, you help the animals, you help the environment, you help climate change, you help fight climate change. There's one simple act. Just stop eating meat one meal a day. and then gradually say, I don't need meat. I don't need to eat pork's feet, or, oh God, the price of beef tongue went up like, I was at the grocery store yesterday. If you buy beef tongue, that's like a big chunk of meat that's like 30, $40. Or how about this oxtail, which
Yeah, no, it's
oxtail, just
crazy.
one oxtail is like $19. There's hardly any meat there for the damn tail. You're paying for the damn tail.
Yeah,
But
no.
Filipinos love oxtail.
Hey, listen, man. When I was a kid living in the projects, right? The kind of meat pieces that were available when I was a kid living in the projects, the kind of meat pieces that were available at the
Yeah.
grocery stores that served our population, right,
Yes.
included things like the cheapest cuts of steak, like flank steak, right? You
Flank
had to
is
beat the
good.
hell out of
Flank
steak
is good.
in order to
You got to cut
tenderize
it
it.
right.
And they
You got
also
to
had
cut it.
oxtail. And
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
it was cheap cuts. It was cheap cuts. Those were the cheapest cuts. All of a sudden now oxtail's a delicacy, right? And they're
Hey,
charging big bucks for it, right?
hey,
I mean,
pork belly. Pork belly's a delicacy now. Pork belly. You can trade pork belly in the commodities market. Just a
yes, it
delicacy.
is. Well, it's been for a
Yeah.
while. Sure.
Hey,
When the Costco Business Center, when the Costco Business, that's where you can get pork belly if you don't want if you still want
yeah.
meat. Co- Costco sells pork belly
Oh yeah.
slabs, man. You know, at their business centers to serve
Yeah.
restaurants because it's become a
Yeah.
big deal,
Well,
right? That's been going
I
on for
know.
about 20
Well, you
years.
start seeing them in restaurants.
Not the sale at Costco,
Yeah.
but the
I mean,
pork
you start
belly. Yeah,
seeing them at the hipster restaurants. On Valencia Street, in San Francisco, places
it's
like that. So,
well,
pork belly.
yeah. The
But
problem
all
is
you have
the
to do,
problem is our stuff now. See, the Chinese are still maintain the ability to do fast food, sit down food, not just fast food,
yeah,
at the
yeah,
at the window, but a balance, right, between the cost of their service and the price that they charge the general public. So it's still very affordable, right?
yeah, right.
But everybody else has increased their costs. So suddenly that makes it more difficult for new uh, ethnic groups, new not new ethnic groups, but new ethnic restaurants to keep alive, and above
Yeah,
cost margins, so that
it's
they can
pop
be
ups.
profitable.
It's pop ups and food trucks. Pop ups and food trucks. That's the future. Pop ups and food trucks.
Uh,
Right.
uh,
Yeah.
well, I know that some people have been criticized because they used food trucks, for major events, right? The events that are supposed to be
Oh yeah.
stylish and that in the past have been 10, 10, 10 person, 10 seat, banquet table things. And then all of a sudden now
Yeah.
they got pop up and food truck. And that's seen as being really trashy, you know.
Yeah.
But
Well,
the reality is that's the way people do it. Pop ups are great. Pop ups are
oh
great,
yeah.
man.
Hey, my cousin Christopher, we talked about. He was
Yeah,
pop ups.
unfortunately
He's
passed
Mr.
away.
Pop Up. He's Mr.
Yeah.
Pop Up, and that was great because you could, you get all the smash ups, you get all the different kinds of foods, and it was creative, and it was cheaper, and it was hip. It's hipper. It's a lot
Yeah, you
hipper
get
than
creative, experimental. Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So
It
so
is
anyway,
hipper. And
so
we
so
hip now.
here's the silver lining. Here's the silver
The
lining for the fire.
ethnic is hip.
Yeah, I think is it. Well, if you eat them, not if you do anything else with them. You can't hire them. You can't. You just got to eat them. So if you eat the ethnic, hey, so anyway,
Unfortunately, yeah, being ethnic is politically
yeah,
dangerous, at this point, unless
yeah,
unless you want to Trump. If you're ethnic, the smart and safe route now is to Trump out.
hey,
Oh no,
well,
we
see,
like the guy. We think he's the best looking president ever in the history of the
yes,
United States of America and
I
most of the
suggest
rest
a
of the
little
world.
more orange though. A little more orange. It's good. It's good. But
Yeah, and his golf game is his golf game is outstanding. I mean, I know personally that he hit on a couple of the long courses. We're talking about par fours, and the guy hit the hole in one on a par four. I mean, it had to be a 400-yard shot.
That's the thing. We're all capitulating.
He did it all.
We're following
man.
Facebook. We're all capitulating.
Yeah,
right?
he did it all.
Yeah,
he did it all. That I happen to share.
Oh. I see that the internet saying, don't lie about Trump anymore. Don't lie about Trump. No more bended knee.
Well, no, he could give he could give Arnold
Palmer. Arnold Palmer. Are you saying Arnold Palmer the drink or Arnold Palmer the golfer, or the drink or a 9-inch glass? Are you talking a 9-inch glass on Arnold Palmer? All right, I think we've exhausted our time. The internet has said, Emil, you should stop here.
No, I don't know. We're starting to gross out now. Kathy's going to get pissed. Linda,
no.
I don't know if Linda's going to watch this one.
I think you got to say, they're having too much fun now. It's the internet saying we must end their.
See, we got to Trump out, man. I mean, we got to do like Joe and Mika did, and go and take
Trump out.
At
Trump out. We're trumping out.
Yeah, we got to Trump out.
I like that. I'm gonna. I like that. I'll credit. My friend says we got to Trump out.
Hey.
He's a good golfer. He's, that red tie. That red tie is like a pointer to. It points to his penis. Pointed to his penis. That's what it is.
Well, that's why it's so long. A subscriber to the angle of the dangle.
Angle of the dangle.
He's a subscriber to the angle of the dangle.
So, all right. Well, Dan, thank you very much for your time Sunday. I know you'd rather talk to me than go to church.
Okay, so vegan out. We're gonna. Okay, well, I'll go more positive than that. We really do got a vegan out. In fact, today I'm gonna order a completely vegan meal.
All right, that's good. And you can
order that in.
I don't think there's anything in Jollibee though.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Is there might be noodles? Maybe the noodles are Jollibee. But there's
well, no, you just got to watch out because they don't.
Yeah,
they don't. Jollibee, even if they go vegan on some dishes, it would be impossible to do dinagoan. I don't think you can do that vegan.
All right, I'm going to give I'm going to give a shout out to a friend of mine who runs the International Cafe on Grand in South City. If you go there and you ask the owner for the vegan lechon, that's a good vegan spot right there. But he has vegan lechon. It's not often on the menu. Sometimes he'll have vegan steak on the menu, and it's good vegan steak. Not like Beyond Beef. It's better. It flakes like steak. It looks like steak. You say, "Oh man, if I didn't know any better, I think I was eating a cow." You're having a cow. It's fake cow.
Yeah,
it's good. I know those guys. International Cafe out there on Grand, South City, and tell them Emil sent you.
You got to qualify that.
You got to go. They've got the legit, but you got to ask for it. It's real.
Yeah, okay. It's on the same block? Is it on the same block as the Tapatia? Right there in the same block?
It's right there in the cool part of, not the cool part, but the older part of Grand.
Is it across from the old City Hall? Is it across from the old City Hall?
Down a block. It's just look it up. International Hotel, right there.
Okay.
You can't miss it.
I'll look it up.
And
International
Cafe.
Say,
I want the
International Hotel.
International Cafe. Yeah, the International Hotel. That's where old Filipino guys were. International Cafes where the hipster Filipinos know you can get vegan lechon. So there you go. So Dan,
well, in with all deference to Tower of Power, I'm no longer hip. So
no longer hip. Oh
yeah. No, I'm just a more and more square, okay, elder statesman.
Elder. Oh,
So I
older.
don't
I
know.
I think I
See
think older is
what
better
is
than
hip
younger.
really? It gets defined by what everybody else thinks, and right
Yeah.
now I don't give a what.
Yeah, I think you're right. What is hip? If you think you know, what is hip? To quote Tower of Power, what is hip? Tell me, if you think you know, because you don't know. You don't know what is hip.
Tell
Who's
me,
going to define?
what is
If
new
you
to me?
define if you define what's hip, it's no longer hip, right?
Yeah, it
Hey,
ain't.
by the way, the
Yeah,
singer,
and
who's the singer?
that's also part of the what it is or what it ain't.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, and also
Yeah,
today
very
as we
good,
talk,
very good. You know your lyrics. You know your Tower of Power lyrics, man.
Tower of
This is
Power.
you know.
Hey, who died today? The guy, and I saw it
You
on
know.
the screen. Who
There's
sang
only so
Soul?
much. What it was the third album, I think they did. There's only so much oil in the ground.
Uh,
We gotta go. We better go.
wait,
We
wait,
got
wait.
the love sign from Kathy, and that's time to go.
Sam Moore died today. Soul Man,
Oh,
Sam
what?
and Dave. Sam
Yeah,
Moore, who sang Sam and Dave.
Sam and Dave,
Hold
man.
on, I'm coming. Soul Man, I'm a soul man.
Yeah,
I'm a soul man. Yeah, soul man. I'm a soul man. I'm a soul man. Sam Moore died. 89. He
yeah.
was 89. So there, there.
Their songs
Yeah,
were so good. Their arrangements were so good. You know,
yeah. I
really good.
love Sam. I love Sam. I'm a soul
They're great.
man.
They're great, man.
Oh, Sam and Dave, and coming up in the rear, coming up, Junior Walker and the All Stars.
Oh wow.
Shotgun, shotgun, shotgun,
Oh yeah,
shotgun,
yeah.
shotgun. Anyway, yeah, the
Junior Walker and
Filipino
the All
soul singer.
Stars.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Junior Walker.
who did Twine Time? That was
Twine. Oh, I think that was Twine. Archie Bell and the Drells. I think Archie Bell and the Drells did Twine Time. Archie Bell and the Drells. Twine Time. There was also a lyric in Junior Walker and the All Stars. I think Twine, because they said Twine Time. Oh, okay,
come on,
but it
it's
was
the Twine Time. Dun,
Twine
dun.
Time.
Yeah.
I remember the Twine Time. Twine Time. Hey, well, taking us
Alvin
down
Cash
memory
and the
lane.
Crawlers. Alvin Cash and the
Alvin.
Crawlers.
I don't remember Alvin Cash and the
Alvin Cash
Crawlers.
and the Crawlers, man.
Alvin Cash and the Crawlers.
That
Well,
was one of the funkiest. That was one of the sexiest dances of the '60s.
the
The
Twine Time.
Twine.
Yeah, the Twine. Yeah, because it was like the jerk, but
It involved a double bounce. Yeah.
yeah, it was the jerk, but better.
Well, no, it thrust.
Oh yeah. Well, in the jerk, you're like
Well,
upper
the jerk
thrust.
was turned into a hip thrust. Yeah,
Yeah, but the
that's
hip
right.
thrust, and then
Yeah, the Twine
turned
Time.
into the bump.
It was hip thrust.
Yeah, and that turned into the bump,
Yeah, that's true.
which and then the bump, and then the bump. Everyone bumps.
That's
Yeah, people still bump
true.
because they say, "Hey, what do I do with these things?" Oh, you bump each other. Oh, okay.
I thought the
You
bump
mean
was
with
a
our
lot
clothes
more.
on? Huh? You thought the bump was?
Well, either way, man.
Yeah.
Either
Oh, they
way.
do a front bump
Yeah.
or a back bump. Well, now
Yeah.
we're
Well,
just
if you got it, flaunt it, man.
yeah,
If it
you know.
worked.
Well, all right, all right, Dan.
Well,
Dan,
we got there by talking about TP, Tower of Power.
yeah, yeah.
All
I
right,
know,
we gotta
I know.
go.
All right,
Hey,
all right. There it goes.
it's vegan time. It's vegan
Yeah.
time.
We should be talking about
I'm
the
going
Watch
vegan.
100. We should be talking about the Watch 103rd Street Rhythm and Blues Band. They're kind of like the LA Tower of Power, but they're good. I like them. 103rd Street Rhythm and Blues Band.
Yeah, no, you had G's from LA. There were all kinds of great groups. I
Yeah.
thought War
Oh, War.
War
Yeah,
was one of the
War.
best.
You can still see War
War was one of the
playing
best.
at a county fair near you. Lowrider.
You can. The last time we saw them was at Sigmund Stern Grove. We saw him at the Grove.
Oh, free. Oh, yeah.
Huge audience, man. They went all
Oh,
the
yeah.
way up.
People
They went
love war.
all the way up to the street. The crowd went all the way up to the street opposite the stage. Right up to like Wawona or whatever that
Oh,
street
yeah.
is up there.
Yeah, yeah. People love war. They don't like war, but they love war. They like war. They don't like war, but they love war. All right, Daniel Phil Gonzalez, my friend. Thank you very much. There he goes, college of ethnic studies professor emeritus. Daniel Phil Gonzalez. There you have a good Sunday, Dan. Oh, Dan. We did this makeup because we had technical difficulty on Friday, and now we still had technical difficulty, but we endeavored. We went forward, and we ended up we wound our way from the fires to talking about Trump to Trump out to trumping out. People are trumping. Facebook is trumping out. Everyone's trumping out. I know we're holding out. You can't be a climate denier. And then we ended up by honoring Sam Moore, Soul Man. Hold on, I'm coming. Sam and Dave. They were good. Sam and Dave. They're not to be confused with some top 40 morning team or something on the radio. Sam and Dave. And then we talked about the Twine Time. The dances of the 60s and 70s. Something to think about. Hey, listen, if you're here, thank you. Catch me. And we ended up talking about veganism. If you want to, honor the fires, right? Not honor, but like what can you do about the fires? Well, first of all, stop the climate denialism. Embrace climate change and say, look, we're gonna fight it. We're not gonna embrace. We're gonna fight it. And what's the best way to fight it? Go vegan. You help the animals. You help your body. You help the environment. Go vegan. Go vegan one meal a day. Do it gradually. If you have a problem, call me. I'll help you. Emil, I want to put this meat in my mouth. Don't. I'll stop you. Just call me. I'll help you. I want to put this meat in my mouth. Stop. You don't have to. That's how easy it is. True confession. Confessional vegan. Call me up. I'll help you. All right. So, thank you. Thank you for being here. Check me out on Patreon, patreon.com/Emil Amok, on YouTube, at Emil Amok1. Amok.com is my website. Twitter, at Emil Amok. Twitter, at Emil Amok. Thank you for joining us on a Sunday. Probably likely to repeat this on if you're hearing this, hey, it's a Monday. I had things to do. Sorry. Like the fire. Got things to do. I had things to burn. And it's only because of the wind. The wind and the availability of vegetation, dry vegetation, all that, and the Santa Ana winds, the dry vegetation, no rain. We need rain. There's no rain. We need rain, but there's no rain. So, all right. Oh, hey, Dan. Dan's still there. Hey, Dan, you're still there, right?
Yeah.
So we should do a final.
I'm going now.
We haven't done laughter yoga in a while, so we should do 1 minute of laughter yoga to fight climate change. Because I am a certified laughter yogi, and I am authorized to do this. So 1 minute to fight climate change. We're making our spirulina drink. Ooh, we're gonna go for a minute. Ooh, ooh, ooh. We're laughing at the climate. We're laughing at climate denialism. We're laughing at climate change. 1 minute.
All we gotta do is think about Trump when he's dancing.
Oh, oh. Oh, thank you, David King. Oh, this foolish guy. 1 minute. 1 minute for to fight climate change. Look at we got 1 minute 9
Okay.
seconds.
I
I'm a
couldn't
certified laughter yogi,
stop
so you can do
laughing
it with
because all I
me.
had to do was think about what me Daniel said about.
Oh, wait, what did she say? What did Stormy say?
Okay, I'm gonna sign off.
I'm telling you, laughter yogi, it helps. I'm a certified laughter yogi. Studied with Dr. Madan Katarian. He was in Mumbai. I was here in California. He said, "You, my boy, you can laugh. Laugh intentionally, indiscriminately. Yes, against the world. That's what we do here." Emil Amok's Takeout. Hey, thanks. Thanks for listening. Check me out, all the different venues on social. So after Laughter Yoga Fit, we calm down. And then we send out the love, right? It's love. Love is the miracle. You know that love is the miracle. That's why, at some point you laugh at Trump. You gotta laugh at all that. At some point you gotta extend some love. And if he bats your hand away, then you say, okay, all right, I tried. Send out the love, because if we send out the love, it comes back twofold, threefold, maybe fourfold, maybe more. And so, as I wish for me, I wish for you. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. And may you live with ease. Emil Guillermo here. Till next time. Mahal Kita.